I didn't know before that Representative Gibson had entered into a cow milking contest, and I just want to challenge him here in his home district. I do have a blue ribbon and a red ribbon from a politician's cow milking contest, so perhaps we can have a little matchup.
The gauntlet is thrown down.
Yeah, exactly. Maine against New York. So, but thank you very much. As I said, I mentioned earlier that one of my interests is on the aspects of local food and local production and the growing market there. But I also support all of my colleagues' questions on crop insurance. In the bill that I submitted, we asked the USDA to analyze this problem because I do think there are a lot of good ideas and data out there. There are good thoughts from actuaries, farmers themselves, and I do think having a whole farm crop insurance program, Mr. Eckert, you've had a lot of good ideas for us today, but it would be very beneficial to many of the farmers that I represent, and I think we could resolve this issue with a little bit of resources put behind it, and then provide something that would really be useful to many of the farms and farms that are actually growing today. I also represent a lot of organic growers, and as many of you in the room know, organic growers have to pay a premium but then get a reduced price when they recover anything from crop insurance, which is completely backwards and upside down. So I think there's an opportunity there, particularly again with this being a fast-growing market and a lot of investment being made in organic production today. So just to the panel generally, any of you who have thoughts on this, as I mentioned, I'm interested in how we spend our resources on programs that allow you to expand in the local food market, to use more CSA, farmers markets. Many of you have already talked about some of the areas where you're benefiting or using some of the programs that are out there. One thing I'm interested in is that there are about 2,000 farm-to-school programs around the country that are providing more local foods for schools, also universities and hospitals. That's a great market and a local market. I know there are some barriers there, and so I'm interested in that, but also just any of your input on these particular programs and where we should be directing our resources. I'll just open it up to any of you.
I'm a big proponent of local. Just to talk a little bit about, I think marketing to the American consumer, that buying local is important, not only from knowing where their food is coming from, but what the impact is. For every bottle of wine that you buy local, you return $10.67 or $10.05 to the local community. When you buy a wine from another country, you return 67 cents. So the impact of buying local is huge, and I don't think the American public really understands that, and I think that's probably the most important thing we need to do. The other is people have to understand the difference in cost. I had a Chilean grape grower in visiting last year, and he said to me, he said, "Scott, how much do you pay your vineyard help?" And I said, "Well, I give them $10, $12 an hour plus medical benefits." And he sat there and looked at me and he goes, "Wow, I pay mine $8 a day. I can't compete with $8 a day." And I think the American public needs to understand that if everybody needs a good living, and we just can't compete with these people, and they shouldn't buy that kind of their products that are basically exploiting the workers.
Thank you for that, and I do think it helps to emphasize that this is a jobs issue, and especially in many of our local communities, and certainly an economic benefit. So thank you for that. But go ahead.
One comment on encouraging local marketing. The state, especially crop block grants, are a good avenue for that. In New York State, over the past few years, approximately 20% of that block grant money has gone into marketing and promotion, much of which is on probably a local type scale. It also has helped fund improvements at the Hunts Point Terminal Market in New York City for those producers that choose to market there. So that is one approach that the federal government can help on that line.
And the research for the nutrition portion of it, especially when we talk about school lunch program, as we try to get more local products into our own schools, collaborating with people so that we can use products. An apple is an apple from, if your school is right here locally and you produce apples locally, they should be able to use those local apples. The Vegetable Growers Association, and along with several other groups, are trying to make cookies that go into school lunch programs. And, how do you make butternut squash into a really good, nutritious cookie that kids want to eat? You put chocolate chips in it. But the idea is that we try to come to these research things to help with school lunch programs and what makes, children want to eat nutritious things. They have to taste good, they have to look good, they have to be good for them.
I'm from Maine, which has a small number of dairy producers, but pricing and margin issues are just as important to all of us and a huge concern. So I really appreciate the thoughts that you've brought to us today. But I want to address a slightly different issue. I'm interested in the local food and farming aspect of this. I've introduced a title to the Farm Bill. It's got about 70 co-sponsors, both some on the Ag Committee, but a lot of people from around the country, all different regions where people are seeing this huge growth in the interest in the market, both what consumers are interested in and then the opportunities available to farmers who sell more of their produce and dairy products and value-added products locally. So I want to address a few questions around that. As I said, I come from Maine, and because of this interest, we've seen the average age of our farmer going down and the number of farms in production going up. So to us, it looks like a huge opportunity. I'll ask Ms. Ledoux a couple of questions, but if any of the rest of you are also interested in this, please feel free to comment. You mentioned in your testimony that you sell at the Central New York Regional Farmers Market, but you're also considering starting a CSA, and that for me is particularly interesting. Can you tell us a little bit about some of the barriers that you face in your production in terms of scaling up? Are there other problems you deal with marketing chains or distribution networks in terms of expansion?
I think, we brand our meat in the sense that it's natural. And so we just decided that moving from doing the farmer's market, which has been great, but it ties up a Saturday. Mm-hmm. And so I have a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old at home who are very active on the farm, but we thought that the next step for us was to do a community-supported ag, which would allow us to have them be involved in the farm, but not tie up every Saturday going to a farmer's market. And that's really why we felt the next move for us was to do the community-supported ag. We have a good following down at the farmers market down in Syracuse that are very interested in that, and they would like to have a steady supply of our meat and the other things that we can offer them, the eggs and things like that. So we just thought that was the next step up that worked out very well for our farm.
Anyone else?
Just about you mentioned the farmers market nutrition program. We have a lot of neighbors who participate, and we are actually looking into the potential being so close to New York City. That is always identified as something. It's amazing how many people are using that to purchase food at markets. So I just know that from all my friends and neighbors who participate, that is a key program.
Great, certainly.
I'd like to follow up a little bit. We're a little bit of a different animal being a cooperative, but we've found the ability to have 1,200 of our members be farmer-owned with our great Cabot brand, and we get into stores with our farmers and they hand out samples. And we have a great relationship with our retailers, and it all comes from this farmer-owned and grassroots part of it. So.
Yes, and I would echo that. I love local, and people in our community that know me, that see me at church or at other organizations, love to buy our product, talk to me about it, and I can educate it on it some, and it's a great relationship.
Thanks.
And I guess if I was to follow up, people truly want to know where their food is coming from. They want to talk directly to that farmer. They want to look them in the face and they want to say, I've bought this product from you. I want to know that you grew it, or you raised it, and you took care of it from the beginning to where it was processed and brought that, whatever that is. If it's a vegetable or it's meat, that they know that you were the one that was involved in it. And we can do that.
That's great. The chair mentioned that one of the big issues we're dealing with is budgetary constraints and what this new farm bill will look like. And I guess my particular interest is in figuring out, given the fact that this is where a lot of growth in the market is, where farmers are seeing huge opportunities, how do we make sure that some of the programs you've already been talking about are there and available to farmers who want to expand into this market as we're sort of balancing out, where our budgetary challenges are. So are there other things that you think, and I know some of them have already been mentioned today, even programs like EQIP or Farm Credit are certainly critical, but in my brief time available. Anything else you want to throw in there that you just think, when it comes to helping farmers sell more locally, is a great advantage?
I mean, I guess I'm gonna put in my plug for cooperative extension and the hatch programs, because they are directly working with farmers. They are directly out there talking with them. We're working with them. If it's, telling them how to put in their vegetables, how to work with a small beef operation. I mean, the reality is most beef operations in the United States are 20 cows, and New York State lends itself to that size operations. They're talking to them about doing rotational grazing. They're talking with them about having a small livestock operation, whether it's sheep or hogs, and people want to get involved with that kind of direct marketing.
Great.
Applied research. Very simply, the specialty crop block grant is a relatively new, if it was an '08 Farm Bill or the one before. And I realize you only have so much money in the world, so you can't reinvent the wheel. But for future reference, I serve on the New York Farm Viability Institute board, and it's a farmer-led group that helps divvy up applied research dollars. And a lot of the grants that we're giving out are for new concepts or new ways, even to help everyone though, but to help new ways to skin the cat, I guess. So anything on applied research is always good because states have problems too.